Hey, what's up, fam? Thank y'all for tuning in once again. As always, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And when you do subscribe, hit the notification bell. So every time I drop a video, you will be the first to know about it. So it's not bad enough that money's being sent overseas to Ukraine, blank checks to Ukraine, blank checks to Israel, putting the American people on edge during this voting cycle, using money for illegal immigrants to come to the country, that come in the country, stay in the country, draining taxpayers' funds. And yet we got all these issues internally. And that's one thing that I believe the scriptures teach is you always take care of home first. Because if you don't fortify the house, people can come in, infiltrate, and destroy you from within. You see the story of the Trojan horse. Stories like that, it may be like, they don't know if it's a real or a fake story, but it's reality. But you always fortify the inside and you don't let nobody come in and infiltrate it. Hell, just like the game of chess. You may have like your weaker pieces, not really weak, but your weaker pieces up front and your stronger pieces in the back, because you still got a strong armor. You still can get through. The goal is to get through the game with as few casualties as possible. In war, you're gonna have casualties, of course. But if you can keep your defenses fortified, the king and queen will never be touched and you can defeat your enemy. But it's always about making sure, like I said, you have a fortress, but your internal force is always the strongest. So when you allow people to come across a border and just come freely, your interior is not being fortified like it should be. The last couple of days, last couple of weeks, they've caught people at the border that were part of terrorist organizations or, street gangs coming over here to, they ain't come over here to get no job to work a 9 to 5. I can tell you that. And they say these military age men coming across the borders from California and Texas looking like they ready for war. You allow them to infiltrate, but yet America's too busy trying to help other countries or whatever. So you wonder why people are ready to move on. But this is a story that's gotta be the straw that breaks the camel's back for a lot of us. And this comes from dailymail.com and it reads, U.S. taxpayer money is flowing to the Taliban. Damning government report reveals American cash is getting into terrorist hands through $2.9 billion United Nations plan and bundles of notes delivered to Kabul airport. All right, let's get into this. It says American taxpayers' money is ending up in the hands of the Taliban, according to a U.S. government watchdog, which found that bundles of cash flow into Afghanistan by the United Nations are finding their way to the country's central bank. The latest report by the Special Inspector General for Afghanistan Reconstruction found that the UN has delivered more than $2.9 billion in cash since the extremist group took over in 2021. The money, most of which comes from the U.S., is deposited in private banks for humanitarian organizations and their life-saving work. But some of the money, the report concludes, is routed through the central bank, which is under the control of the Taliban. So that begs the question. If some of your money, if you send your money out for good, but you know that some of it is going to evil, do you stop or do you continue to ship the money? Or do you find better ways to make sure that it gets to the rightful place that it's intended to go to? Most of the money that's going in cash to the UN is ultimately coming from the U.S. taxpayers, John Sopko, the Inspector General, told ProPublica. It's going to a terrorist group. The Taliban are a bunch of terrorists. Now remember, I believe we fought against the Taliban way back in George Bush days, right? It was in Afghanistan. And wasn't that the country that Joe Biden pulled the troops out, but then left all the weapons and military vehicles over there, and they ended up taking over Afghanistan again? The report is the first in-depth look at how American money makes its way into Afghanistan on aid flights and what happens to it after that. The U.S. and other foreign donors scaled back their assistance after the collapse of the internationally backed government in 2021 amid concern that the Taliban would use the money for their own ends. Even so, the report demonstrates the difficulty of delivering any humanitarian aid to areas under the control of sanctioned governments or terrorist groups. Or, if you're concerned about it, now it's up in the air about how we as American citizens should feel about us dealing in foreign affairs. But if you're going to do it, you should have just stayed there. If should just kept the troops there, stayed there, and kept the Taliban at bay. But yet you left. Taliban took over like 10 minutes after you left. It's like you was never there in the first place. And now you sending money over to a place that they can control. I also know this. I read an article where it says, like, you wonder what kind of benefit does America get out of sending money overseas, like let's say Ukraine, to the war in Ukraine. But they say that the money that they send over there, they get at least 60% of it back because they're selling Ukraine the military weapons they need. Crazy, right? So it's not like they're not getting anything out of it. They're getting it just through the military and the weapons that we build. They're getting 60% of the money back. And I'm quite sure they're getting other kind of kickbacks and perks just by doing it all, doing the money they send also. So we're just talking about the military part. So when they go in these countries and they take them over, or they go and pull out or whatever, there's like contracts and agreements to where that these countries will buy military weapons and take aid in from America that they're paying for. So it's not just done for free. Never believe that. It says, even so, the report demonstrates the difficulty in delivering humanitarian aid to areas under the control of sanctioned governments or terrorist groups. In its response to the report, the State Department said, we take seriously our duty as stewards of American taxpayer money and hold our implementing partners to the highest standard to ensure that U.S. assistance funds are used wisely, effectively, and for their intended purposes. Any interference with or diversion of U.S. government assistance is unacceptable. The Taliban seized control of the country in August of 2021 as American troops and their international partners departed. The speed of the takeover surprised the Pentagon and intelligence community, leaving government agencies and the United Nations scrambling to ensure that the Taliban couldn't profit from aid programs. Really, surprised, really, amazingly. Somebody came over here, supposedly from what your reports are, came over here and flew planes into World Trade Center, towers. You were shocked that happened. You are really shocked that, oh, hold on, you got, like say, military age men from Asia, China, coming over here seeking asylum. And you think nothing of it, or you don't make a big deal out of it. And yet a report comes out today that China is creating this mass military, putting together this big, major military that can compete with anybody in the world as if they're ready and preparing for a war. But yet military age men from China coming over here and you just let them in. You gotta make Make it make it make sense to the American public. Seriously, something is going on, and we don't see it. Understand this too. Every major world empire in the history, in written history, has failed. Every last one of them. And as time goes on, the time that they're in power decreases, probably due to technology. But they say like with the Egyptian empire is probably the longest standing, and anything came after that has had shorter and shorter reign. And if you think the American is a world empire, the leader of the free world, well, it's only been that way a few decades, which quite honestly and unfortunately, it could fall, truly fall at any second. And it looks like it's already doing that within the past few decades. The past few years. So it's just inevitable. I mean, people are going away from the US dollar as their currency in foreign countries. People are looking and laughing at our presidents, especially the last two that we had, because it's like these guys seem like they're incompetent and incapable of running the country. Better yet, telling the world what to do. You got a lot of countries telling America, hey, don't come help us. We don't want your help. We don't want your money. We ain't trying to go alphabet community, so we don't need you. Raise up and get out. They're telling the Western world to do that. Things are changing. Things are changing, and not for the best for the American people, country as a whole. So just pay attention to what's going on outside of your community. Pay attention to world news, American national news and world news, state and local. But hell, just pay attention to it all, because a lot is happening under our eyes. And you're not paying attention to it, you'll be left behind. You'll be left off of the ark. What it say? Okay, this year the UN estimated that $23.7 million are in need. No, not dollars. This year the UN estimates that 27.3 million are in need of help. The legacy of decades of war. The U.S. remains the biggest donor, providing about $2.6 billion since the Taliban takeover for the UN, other international bodies or charities. During that time, reveals the report, the UN bought and transported $2.9 billion of cash to Afghanistan. The problem is that donors make contributions to pooled UN accounts, which prevents tying humanitarian assistance expenses, including for the purchase and transport of cash into Afghanistan, to a specific donor's contribution. It continues. In absence of reliable electronic transfer systems, there is only one practical way to get the money to the country. Pictures published by the Afghanistan Bank, the DAB, the Afghan Central Bank, show bales of $100 bills arriving in the country via UN flight. So they got to bring cash into places, but they won't let us hold cash at all. They don't want us to have no kind of cash in this country. They want us to do everything by electronic transfers and purchasing. But they want to keep all the cash projects to send it all over there. Why the other countries can't use electronic transfers? From there, they are deposited into a private bank. Some of the money is then converted into local currency, Afghanis, for local aid agencies. Despite UN statements that it does not provide cash to the Taliban or the Taliban-controlled DAB, when the UN's private Afghan bank cannot access sufficient Afghanis to fulfill the UN's requirements for local currency, the bank does so through DAB on the UN's behalf and with the UN's knowledge, concludes the report. This means some of the US dollars the UN purchases and transported to Afghanistan ends up in Taliban hands via the currency exchange process with DAB. Lawmakers said that was not good enough. This is unacceptable, Republican Representative Michael McCall, who chairs the House Committee on Foreign Affairs, told ProPublica. the U.S. government must work harder to prevent the Taliban from benefiting from humanitarian aid. So basically, it's just saying that the U.S. is being lazy. Send the money over there, whoever gets it, but they know who's getting it. That's my thing. If I'm sending, I mean, if you giving, think about your kids. Let's say you got adult kid and they ask you for money and you send money. But then you mess around and you find out, they say they need money to help pay rent or help put food in the house, in the apartment, or help with a car note. And you do that, then you come to find out that they got this no-count boyfriend or this no-count girlfriend living with them who ain't working, ain't trying to pitch in, chip in, nothing like that, living off them, be in their house all the time, and ain't putting no money towards that house. But yet, they want you as a parent to do it. How would you feel? What would you need to happen in order for you to continue to help your child? A, your child need to go ahead and move out that apartment and come back home. Or B, that dude need to get up out of there. She need to break up with that dude. That dude need to get up out of there. You say you ain't sending no more money as long as they're together. Or C, that dude gonna need to start pitching in and pulling his weight and helping out. One of the three gonna have to happen. But until one of those three happen, wouldn't you just have to stop sending money, or would you do it reluctantly, knowing that, hey, my child or the grandkids or whatever, they need my help. I just wish he'd do better. I just wish he would do better with who he chooses, because for some reason they are choosing these low-hanging fruit. Or heck no, fruit that done fell off the dang on tree and is sitting on the ground rotten. For some reason, they want to sit there with that. They want to eat out. They want to enjoy the company of those people. Nah, I'm sorry, America. You are, like I say, the leader of the free world, supposedly. You supposed to be the person that everybody looks up to and looks to come to when it comes to any kind of aid. That's what you want to be. That's what you want to look like. But yet, can't control what's going on in your world, in your own country. But trying to control everybody else's. Ain't nobody trying to hear that. And now it seems like money that you're sending out is supporting, quote unquote, known terrorist groups. Like I say, you got to get it together. And I mean, the U.S. has been known to, be in cahoots with people that's supposed to be known terrorists. Osama bin Laden, Saddam Hussein, all of them, they was cool with them at one point. But then for some reason, something happened. You got on the U.S.'s bad side, so now they don't want to mess with you no more, and they do what they got to do to take you out. So I don't trust it. It's crazy. Something got to change. But I say this is not a Joe Biden or a Democrat problem. This is a U.S. government problem, because these things like this have been going on. Hell, like I say, the Taliban, they was in the war with them since, like I said, the George Bush second, Jr., whatever you want to call it, the W, since his days, and probably before then, matter of fact. But these are things, like I said, have been going on forever. This is not, like I say, something that just started when Biden got into office. Things like this, things like this. This is why we say you make sure that you always focus on your local elections first. What did I say in the beginning? You got to fortify home first before you can worry about what's going on outside. But you always pay attention to what's going on outside. You always got to see what's going on, because you got to see what's coming. And we're talking right now politically. But you make sure that you put those people in places, the mayors, your city council, your sheriff's departments, things of that nature. Hell, even your dang people that's running the water company. All those people, your judges, people that you can vote in, you make sure those are people, there are people in there that has the best interests of all people. You can't make everybody happy, so there's got to be a compromise somewhere, but you make sure that they are doing what's right, what's best for the people. And then you work your way out to the state government and then the national government. And in that way, you can do your part in the help fortifying the United States. Because if not, then you may just have to use that passport to go get a dual citizenship somewhere. Rich people are doing it. Rich people are looking to get up out the country, and y'all are looking to get dual citizenships, and y'all not seeing that. Y'all too busy worrying about the passport bros, going over and finding women and marrying them people. Shoot, like I said, you got people who using passports to get dual citizenships, man. So it's time for y'all to catch up. But anyway, tell me what you think about this story. Does this surprise you? Are you shocked by these quote unquote allegations or these findings? And do you buy that the U.S. don't know what's going on? I don't. I think they know. They've been knowing. Been knowing since day one. But anyway, tell me what you think about this story. Leave your comments below. Let's dialogue. Let's have a conversation about it. Hey, support the channel. There's 4 ways you can do it non-monetarily. You can like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. It helps boost the algorithm. The boost the videos and the channels in the algorithm to get more views, to get more subscribers, to get out there so I can put out more content, better content. Have you got any ideas for content or anything you want to discuss? Hit me up at soulinthesoil@gmail.com. And if you feel the urge, feel it in your heart to support monetarily, look in the description box. There are a few links you can click on and you can help support there. But anyway, however you do it, hey, I thank you and I appreciate you for all that you do. And with that being said, I'll leave you in peace and I'll see you on the other side.